Hello, once again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our virtual classroom. Today, we're going to be going over lesson 9-1, which is the coordinate plane, Now, I'm sure that you've seen this before, at least you've heard about it, but I'm going to talk to you about it as if you've never seen this before, as if you've never encountered this before, especially because maybe there are some terms relating to the coordinate plane that maybe you didn't or you weren't aware about from elementary school. Anyways, so the coordinate plane, otherwise known as the coordinate grid or just a grid, or sometimes we just call it a graph, essentially looks like this. Now, in elementary school, you were probably familiar with this side of it over here. But essentially what a coordinate plane is, it's two number lines that are perpendicular to one another. In other words, there's two number lines, one down here, a horizontal number line and a vertical number line intersecting where one is perfectly horizontal and one is perfectly vertical. That is called perpendicular. That is at a 90-degree angle. So what can we say about this? Well, just like any other number line, it starts, you can think of it as starting at 0. So let's say that I'm looking at this horizontal one right here. So this would be where 0, and then it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. It's a regular number line. If you go to the left, we have -1, -2, -3, -4, etc. Obviously in between each one. So here would be 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, etc. And then the left we have -0.5, -1, -1.5, -2, -2.5, etc. So it's exactly the same as any number line you've ever seen. Now, at this point 0, you will see the other number line intersect, and this one going up, things get positive, and going down, things get negative. But it's essentially, you read it the exact same way. So within this coordinate plane, you're going to see that we have 4 sections, and each of these sections is known as a quadrant. And so here would be the first quadrant. So this is quadrant 1 right here. And then we go counterclockwise. So directly to the left over here, we have the second quadrant, or quadrant number 2, the third quadrant, quadrant number 3, and the fourth quadrant, quadrant number 4. And so, yes. Now, before I continue, I do want you to know what these number lines are called. So the horizontal number line is known as the x-axis. They're called axis, or yeah, axis. So the x-axis. And then we have the y-axis, which is going up. And you always, whenever you're reading points on a coordinate plane, you always read the x-axis first, and then the y-axis. Hence why x is in the alphabet. X comes before y, right? It's x, y, z. So x is first, and then y follows. Just so that you know. But again, this is the x-axis and the y-axis. Here we have the first, the second, the third, and the fourth quadrants, right? And so if you were to see a point right here, that's obviously in the first quadrant. A point over here would be in the third quadrant, etc. What else? What else can we say about the coordinate plane? Well, this point right here, the point of intersection between the x and the y-axis, that is known as the origin. Think of it as the beginning, the origin of both of the number lines. They both start right here at the point. This point is called 0, 0, or the origin. It kind of looks like an owl, I think. But yes, that means that your point x is 0 and your point y is 0. So that is the exact coordinate of that. So x is 0 and y is 0. That's why it's 0, 0, or otherwise known as the origin. I like to think of the 0 as an O, so they're both O, so they're at the origin. Anything else? Well, let's start talking about ordered pairs. All right. Ordered pair is what you call an actual coordinate point. That's how you organize a point on a coordinate plane. And why is it a pair? It is a pair because it always has two numbers. Remember, pair, like a pair of socks, two socks, you know, a pair, you think of two, whatever. But yes, in this case, a pair will refer to two numbers that are paired together, and one of them will be an x coordinate and the other one's going to be a y coordinate. All right, so remember, x always comes before y, and they're always separated by a comma, and sometimes you see them inside parentheses. So this is known as an ordered pair. An ordered pair. And for example, if I were to look at this point right here, okay, this point right here, like I said, we always look at the x-axis first. So I'm going to look at this number line. So I'm going to ignore the vertical number line. I'm just going to look at the horizontal number line. And looking at this one, notice that starting from the origin to get to this point right here, I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that my x coordinate here, my first number, is going to be 4. Good. Now, from that point, you're either going to go up or down. Up is positive, down is negative. So in this case, I'm going up 1, 2. So, and that's not perfect, but my y coordinate would be 2. So ladies and gentlemen, this point is 4, 2, meaning we go 4 on the x-axis, positive 4. So that means to the right. If it was negative 4, you would go to the left. And then you would go up 2. That's my y coordinate. Now, please, this is not the same thing as 2, 4. If I were to go 2, 4, then that would be 2, which is only 2 on the x-axis, and then 4 on the y-axis, all the way up to here. This would be 2, 4. Furthermore, let's look at the complete opposite. What if I were to make these negative? What if I were to make some of these points negative? All right, so let's use a different color. Let's say that I had something like negative 4. Let's look for the point negative 4, negative 4. Let's do negative 4, negative 2. Negative 4, negative 2. So negative 4, negative 2 would be, again, my x is my first number. So x, looking at the x-axis, and it's starting at 0. It says negative 4, so I have to go negative 1, 2, 3, 4. And then my y-axis, up or down, it's negative, so I'm going to go down 2. So negative 4, negative 2 would actually be right here. It's not even that point that we see right there. That'd be negative 4, negative 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1, 2. So this would be negative 4, negative 2. This point right here would actually be negative 3, negative 2. So this is negative 3, negative 2. And that's pretty much how it works. So you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that if I were to put, let's say I put a point on each of the different quadrants. So let's say I put a point right here. There's already this point right here, this point right here, and then there's this point right over, let's see, this point right here. All right, so this would be 4, 2, 4, 2. This would be negative 1, 2, so it's negative 2, and then it goes up, so it's positive 3, negative 2, 3. This would be negative 3, and then negative 2, negative 3, negative 2. And then this point right here, again, we start on the x-axis, positive 1, but then it goes negative 2, negative 2. So ladies and gentlemen, notice the signs of the numbers in each of the quadrants. Notice that this point right here in quadrant 1, all the points in quadrant 1, my x is going to be positive and my y is going to be positive. Here in quadrant 2, all the points that you find in quadrant 2, it is always going to be such that my x's are going to be negative and my y's are going to be positive because we're going to be above the x-axis. Now going down over here to quadrant number 3, notice how both the x-axis and the y-axis are going to be negative always. And then notice here in quadrant number 4, that's 4 in Roman numerals, my x is always going to be positive, but my y is always going to be negative. And so that's useful to know. Now, what if a point was right here, right in the middle? Okay, so what if my point was right here, right in the, or not in the middle, but right on the line? Well, how far does it go left or right? It doesn't go anything at all. So that would be 0x, and then my y would be 2. Similarly, if it was on the line on the x-axis anywhere, well, notice how we start here. Remember, we do the horizontal first, so it's going to be -4. And then that goes up 0, so that would be -4, 0. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully this was useful. And in fact, as you're doing your assignment today, if you were to go to Schoology, and you find ourselves in 9-1, we're going to be focusing on number 5, but notice how they already provide for you a coordinate grid right there. And I believe that you're just finding the different values of that coordinate grid. And I'm going to see if I can zoom in quite a bit right here. But yes, essentially you're going to be finding the coordinates for each one of these points. For example, if I were to look at point N up here, point N, notice how we start at 0 and we go to the left. So that's -1, 2. So that's -2. And then from there we go up. So it's going to be positive because up is always positive. 1, 2, 3, 4. -2, 4. That would be point N. Now, if I were to look at something like point O right here, notice that we start going to the right. So it's going to be positive 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So it's going to be 4. Half is 0.5, right? 4.5. And then we go up 1, 2, 3. It's right on the line. So 4.53. So yes, you will find some that are on the in between some of the points, either on the X, on the Y, or on both. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you found this video helpful. And with that in mind, I will see you next time.